A late announcement tonight about President Trump and Colorado. Our state didn't get rid of caucuses. You can still make some important decisions there. A second Aurora police officer avoids serious punishment for a drunk driving incident. Giving kids a break every now and then could become the law. And something to think about.
Come on, people. Men's brains and women's brains, there's no difference.
When her promotion was given away to a man, she took a stand and inspired generations. A Coloradan we should all know. Next. President Trump is keeping his promise to come to Colorado. He pledged to come here often to campaign for Republican Senator Cory Gardner this year. And within just the last half hour, the president's team announced that he will be here later this month. It's an event at the World Arena in Colorado Springs the evening of Thursday, February 20th. We looked it up. World Arena can hold 8,099 people. It's going to be packed. There are almost 20 times that many Republicans in El Paso County alone. We also checked, and the United States Senate is not in session, so we expect that Senator Gardner will be one of those who's there. The winner of the Iowa caucuses cannot be determined. So says the Associated Press this afternoon. Now, if you're thinking, well, Colorado did itself a favor getting rid of those caucuses, I got to tell you, we still have them, just not for picking presidents. Some of the most important decisions about who represents you, those decisions still happen at caucuses. Here's politics guy Marshall Zellinger.
Those Iowa caucuses sure seem confusing. Good thing we don't have to. No, we do.
It would be a really unfortunate downside of this if people decided not to participate in other caucuses based on what they saw in Iowa.
Even though Colorado's caucuses don't involve picking a favorite presidential candidate, they still involve a lot of power. Like when your state lawmaker chooses to resign, you could help pick who replaces them, as long as you show up Saturday, March 7th.
If there's ever a vacancy, and there will be vacancies, you never know who, when, or where, you want to go to caucus, you want to run to be a PCP or a precinct organizer so that if there's a vacancy, you have a say on who the next elected representative will be.
I do think we want people, for the most part, staying in their seats when they get elected.
The process is similar for the Republican Party, although the March 7th caucus isn't required if you want to sit on a vacancy committee.
Sometimes the spots on those committees are actually filled throughout the year when other spots become open. So it's the main way to be a part of that committee. It's not the one and only way.
So why would you be interested in sitting on a vacancy committee? It's something we've covered extensively on Next. 21 out of the 100 current lawmakers, 1 out of 5, were not originally elected. They were appointed by vacancy committees. 7 of those lawmakers have since won an election with their district's voters involved. 14 have yet to be on a ballot for you to decide. Now, not all appointees get support by the voters. 3 previous appointees were defeated at their first election, and 1 resigned. So what else happens at the caucuses? Well, for the Democrats, that will help narrow down who should be on the June 30th Senate primary ballot. 5 of the candidates are trying to win their way on the ballot by getting enough support at the caucus. The others are trying to petition. Another major reason to go, Kyle, is to be a presidential elector. You know, the 9 people who actually cast the vote after we vote for president in November, they are picked based on people who show up first on Saturday, March 7th.
So we are both unaffiliated voters.
We are.
We're not going to be voting in a caucus. But suppose somebody is unaffiliated, they're inspired, they want to participate in a caucus.
There's a deadline. Next Friday, February 14th, not just Valentine's Day. If you're unaffiliated and you want to go to a caucus, you have to affiliate to show up to one of these party caucuses. Primarily the Democrats and Republicans. Other parties have caucuses. But if you want to be one, you have to register as a Democrat or a Republican and show up. Then you could go back to unaffiliated, I guess, after that. But
did you say next Friday is Valentine's Day?
Did you not know this?
Good looking out, buddy. That's a newlywed right there. Good looking out. Considering Colorado is thinking about joining California and making it legal to pay college athletes for the use of their names and likenesses, we wondered if opening up big money deals for students might actually lead to more backroom endorsement deals to steer kids to certain schools.
I think it would make athletes and the transactions that they engage in more transparent, because it has a provision within the bill that within 72 hours of entering any type of name, image, and likeness contract, that they have to provide that bill to the athletic director, who would then have the ability to look at, does this create any type of conflict? Does it create an institutional problem?
If the bill advances in the House, it's likely to go to the Senate, where Democrats are also in control. They have a smaller majority there. Rural Colorado is asking urban Colorado not to close private prisons. Republicans say that the loss of 3 private prisons over the next few years would hurt small-town economies. The Democratic sponsor of that bill, that idea, is incredulous that in a discussion about the most humane way to treat inmates, they're talking about money.
When we talk about money over people's lives, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We should also be ashamed if we say we're going to leave people behind in these communities without actually weighing the impacts of what we are going to do. Colorado has one of the highest recidivism rates in the nation. I am not only hard on private prisons, I am hard on all prisons in this state. I am hard on our entire criminal justice system that has been used to systemically destroy Black and brown and low-income communities, period.
That bill again heads to the Democrat-controlled Senate. You know the deal. They're in charge at the Capitol, so barring something unforeseen, all this stuff passes. Being a kid is tough, and state legislators took a little time today to consider giving kids a break, a mental health day from time to time. We talked with one of the young people testifying in favor of those excused absences.
My name is Ethan Reed. I am a junior at Legend High School in Parker, Colorado, and I am a youth political activist. I am here to testify on the Senate Education Committee in support of Senate Bill 14, which would allow students across the state to have the option to be marked excused due to mental health reasons. Mental health is definitely a crisis in our state right now. I know just last year I lost 2 of my friends who committed suicide. They were both juniors in high school as well, and so they just felt like that was the only option left for them to do. Mental health is a #1 priority because there's just so many youth now that are just so overwhelmed with different things in life, such as school, family, friends, even work. It's just a really big deal right now, especially because we're seeing our suicide rates among young people is increasing at an alarming rate.
Good to see you.
You too.
All right.
Bye. And it's definitely a more prevalent issue that's arising more. It's gonna be starting soon, more so than before. And so I think they meant in here, we need to do all that we can to address this issue.
The Aurora Police Officer who was found blackout drunk on duty in his patrol car is going to get away with it for the most part. And the department leader who allowed it to happen bailed the department today before he could get in trouble for it. This is a pretty astonishing sequence of events for the Aurora Police Department. Today's developments began with District Attorney George Brockler saying that he tried, but he could not come up with enough admissible evidence to convict Officer Nate Meyer of driving drunk. Meyer was found last March blacked out and armed while on duty in his car. His fellow officers, including former interim chief Paul O'Keefe, did not treat it as a drunk driving case. Blood alcohol level only came out as part of an internal affairs investigation.
I am incredibly frustrated with an agency that I put a great deal of trust in. If one of us had been in that car and not Officer Nate Meyer, you ask me, do I think it would have been treated differently? I do. I think this became an ignorance is bliss moment. I think this became, we don't want to know. We don't want to get evidence that might show what we suspect. I don't think that's a cover-up, but it's a couple blocks from it.
Couple blocks from a cover-up. Hey, while we're in the neighborhood, Aurora PD opened a new internal investigation into how former interim chief Paul O'Keefe and others handled that incident. And then just like that, O'Keefe turned in his resignation. He's leaving immediately. He was due to retire soon, but now O'Keefe cannot be held to account by Aurora Police. And the new interim chief says they're not allowed to go back and punish Officer Meyer any more than what he already received.
I know people are asking, what about Nate Meyer? People need to understand that we have a civil service commission and he has protections that are in place. He has already been disciplined, and it's like a criminal double jeopardy situation. I can't go back and discipline him again. He was demoted and he received a very healthy suspension as well.
District Attorney Brockler said today that he was desperate to find some way to prosecute the case. But he said without the evidence that police officers would normally collect at the scene, He said it would have been the weakest drunk driving case he had ever prosecuted.
Michael Bloomberg's new commercial looks like an ad for Barack Obama. Or is it an ad for Bloomberg by Obama? Let's sort this out. She opened doors for women in Colorado, even if she basically had to take them off the hinges. Next.
It's rare to hear a politician admit they don't know much about a bill that they're sponsoring, but we're going to forgive Republican House Minority Leader Patrick Neville because he adopted a bill that was the passion of a colleague who passed away recently. Representative Kimmy Lewis loved Southeast Colorado. She loved its farming and ranching families, and she felt that it was important to them to carry a bill changing how meat is labeled. This is not Representative Neville's area of expertise, but he didn't just want the bill to fade away with Lewis gone.
This is something Rep. Lewis had championed in the past, and when she passed away, I didn't want that legacy to disappear. It's something I've always definitely supported, and she had gained a lot of traction and a lot of steam each year she ran it, and I didn't want to see that momentum go away.
Did you see the ad in the last commercial break? It kind of looks like Barack Obama's running for president again.
He's been a leader throughout the country for the past 12 years. Mr. Michael Bloomberg is here.
Leadership in action. Mayor Bloomberg and President Obama worked together in the fight for gun safety laws, to improve education, and to develop innovative ways to help teens gain the skills needed to find good jobs.
Mike Bloomberg and Joe Biden are like in a saying Barack Obama's name contest. We reached out to Bloomberg's people in Colorado to see if they think that ad implies that President Obama has endorsed Bloomberg. He has not. They told us they checked with headquarters, and we didn't hear back.
It was cloudy, but we got above freezing, and now the next round of snow already moving in. Up over the Continental Divide, advisories for heavy snow and wind, and CDOT advising if you don't have to travel up there tomorrow morning, they'll be doing avalanche mitigation work, and it's going to be a real problem. Our high today at 37, shy of the average of 45. There is a lot of moisture coming our way and cold air with the weather system crossing the state overnight. National Weather Service has put Denver in a winter weather advisory area, but all of the snow has been west, north, east, and south of the city. Does not look like a big snow event for Denver. A couple of inches here, but certainly could see some areas with up to 6 inches under some of those heavier snow bands. And so winter weather advisory overnight tonight and tomorrow. Could see 2 to 4 total here in the city, but up across the Continental Divide, we'll be measuring the snow in feet in the winter storm warning zone. The north and west facing slopes will see heavy snow, winds over 60 miles per hour, and that means whiteout conditions overnight on I-70. Morning drive in Denver may be a little bit icy and dicey, but it doesn't look like a huge storm for Denver. So we'll continue to monitor the weather conditions up in the high country and do expect the snow to develop right here in Denver tonight. And so as we move through the overnight time period, we are looking for forecast low temperatures in, well, the mid-20s, and tomorrow temperatures in the mid-30s, but sunshine and 51 on Saturday.
She got into STEM before it was even a thing, and has inspired generations of women in Colorado and afar. And if you think rent in Denver is expensive, you should see what they pay each month out at DIA. That's next.
This Throwback Thursday, we remember a Coloradan ahead of her time. Dr. Florence Sabin pioneered women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. First, though, Sabin had to wait for medical schools to accept women. Here's Anusha Roy.
The effect of Dr. Florence Sabin's words from 1929
I hope my studies may be an encouragement to other women.
are recorded through written notes from other women who followed in her footsteps and hope for the same for future generations.
And she's had a truly notable career.
Between old interviews and historian Dr. Marcia Goldstein, we piece together how Dr. Sabin, born in Central City, accomplished what few could at the time.
In the 1870s, 1880s, and even the 1890s, women were not admitted to any medical schools.
Then Johns Hopkins opened their own med school, and that was the beginning of a long list of firsts.
First woman professor ever to serve on the faculty of Johns Hopkins University, and was hailed as the greatest living woman scientist.
just at the beginning of modern medicine, and modern medicine is based on the idea that the human mind can find out more and more about health and disease.
Up until that time, women, she thought, could earn their way just on their own merit, that they didn't need to focus on being discriminated against.
But when Dr. Sabin was passed up for a promotion given to a man when she was the obvious choice, she wasn't the kind of woman to not do anything about it.
So she joined the national suffrage movement
and wrote to each member of Congress,
Dr. Florence Sabin, you must give women a chance to be equal.
This year marks the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment in an era where others have picked up Dr. Sabin's work, encouraging girls to explore STEM.
So Dr. Sabin retired in Colorado thinking she was done working, but the historian Dr. Goldstein said the governor came knocking on her door and then asked her for help to modernize the public health laws for the first time since Colorado became a state. And obviously, through all of our reporting, that's still a process that is ongoing here.
And you were telling me, Nusha, what, she would just get on her electric scooter and just ride around the streets and try to figure out what was going wrong?
Same transportation back
Sure.
then, obviously, right? She would literally just roam the streets looking for different types of public health issues, whether it was rats, sewage, and then try to work on it from there. Kept it simple.
The rats are back. She would be discouraged
upset,
to
I
hear
think.
that. Yeah, she wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nusha. United Airlines is getting a lot more space at DIA. They don't just get it, they pay rent. Rent like the rest of us, but way more expensive. That and your feedback next. Our next question is about United Airlines. They're signing a lease tomorrow for a ton of new space at the airport, 24 additional gates, leading to the question, how much do the airlines pay to rent space at DIA? So DIA has two ways that it charges airlines, monthly rent or a la plane. The major airlines like United have lease agreements, and United currently pays $9.9 million a month for the use of the 66 gates, plus it's about to be 90. The smaller airlines, they are charged per plane, per use, and they pay according to the weight of each plane. That typically works out to be about $350 per flight. Although how great would it be if DIA charged Frontier to pick its own gate and then charge them again if the plane had bags, and then charge them again if they want to hook up to the jet bridge, charge Frontier one more time if they want to pull away. It's just an idea anyway. All right, what's your next question? Email next@9news.com. And a final word, if you have the ability to be in Colorado Springs tomorrow morning, a last-minute call's gone out for people to please show up at the memorial service of a retired Air Force surgeon, Clyde Baldwin. He's 91 years old. He doesn't have any living family that can attend. They're worried that nobody's going to be there. It's 8:30 tomorrow morning at Pikes Peak National Cemetery. 8:30 tomorrow morning. I've put the details in my Twitter feed as well. Janine Winchester writes in tonight and says, hey, Kyle, when will we hear from the other Republican presidential candidates? Our basic rule with campaigns is that we try to interview and give time to folks who are running campaigns with a viable chance to win. When it comes to Republicans for president, there's only the one.